So then moving on to Orion Oaks. So here's kind of an overall site plan to then give you a feel of what that campus is going to be like. And I won't spend too much time on early childhood today, but we are developing this as a campus is the way we're approaching it. So it's not just Orion Oaks on this side, early childhood on that side. We're doing a lot. We're being as intentional as we can about how the traffic flows through the site, how pedestrians get across the site, and how kind of those two areas relate to each other and can support each other. So on the busy party days at Orion Oaks, they can leverage the parking at early childhood for their overflow and vice versa. So we're not overbuilding at one school. We can kind of use them both to balance each other out. And so part of that is the drive. We have, particularly at Orion Oaks, what we have done, and here I'll do the same thing I did for Carpenter, where I'll pull up the site plan just to give everyone a reminder of what the current conditions are. And this is rotated a little bit from our drawing, I apologize. But here's Jocelyn Road. You can see where the parents come in. There's a turn here, kind of right at the start of that loop, that drop-off loop, with the parking adjacent to it. And what you will see on our revised plans is that we're actually pulling that down farther. So that turn-in happens right about here, existing, and we're pulling that down farther here. And again, similar to Carpenter, the goal here is to pull as much traffic and as much of the queue off the main road as possible, and also help create more of a stacking space here within the site, so there's just more spots for parents.
Yeah, so right now it's right in here. This is the additional stacking down and then all the way back up. You can see that's about twice as much as, almost two again, as what you had, getting people off the road basically onto the site before they start queuing into this spot. And then removing a few parking spaces as well that are in there that are awkward ones that people are backing into traffic, that kind of stuff. But that was the biggest component, was try to get people off the road quicker.
We're not touching the bus loop here. It's already functioning fine and works, and it's already separate from parent traffic flow, so we're not doing any updates there. We are adding a few parking spots back here to facilitate the after-school pickup and drop-off. And then we are doing the site work necessary for the additions at this building, which I can get into more detail here in a second. But again, kind of very similar goals to what we were doing at Carpenter, which is improving flow, improving safety, and getting more traffic off the main road. Any thoughts or questions on that site layout? Okay.
I don't know if you're going there, but when you presented this to as the bond committee, that also works that you can access Orion Oaks now from Clarkston Road because of the access drive. So Orion Oaks is impacted by the larger site work. So I don't know if you were going to mention that, but since we're talking Orion Oaks, it really creates a lot of off-road stacking when everybody doesn't have to go around to Jocelyn Road.
Correct. Yep, that's a good point. Thanks.
Yeah, and Mitch did talk about it, but the parking, there are times when Orion Oaks will need it. They can use all the parking from the Early Childhood Center for night events and things. So you get a lot of additional parking. That's because of that campus approach.
I guess maybe the only other thing I would point out here on the site is we are planning to do kind of a combined monument sign on Jocelyn with digital signage on it. And so the goal there is, again, it's the campus, it's everything that's happening here. It's a very busy road. And so we would have kind of a digital sign that would serve both buildings out by this road, kind of signifying the entry. And then, interior, you'd just more have directional signage that says, this way to ECC, turn right here to get into Orion Oaks.
Yeah, we thought this one warrants digital because you have two different buildings that are going to use that sign, so you can't necessarily just put out your static letters for one building. You might want those to alternate. So it made a lot of sense here with the two facilities that was digital and that could be changed quicker, and both buildings could use it.
Yeah. Okay, so then moving into the floor plans, again, we have the overall plan of the building on the right, and then the plans of the additions over here on the left. So overall, We are doing a one classroom addition off this wing over here. And again, that's because we took 2 of the classrooms that were originally assigned to this building and moved them over to Carpenter. And so we have one classroom here. And then up front, we talked about that secure entry sequence that we developed and how it's really critical that someone be able to enter directly into the office from the vestibule. And where the main office is currently located at Orion Oaks, which is right here, that's not possible because you have to cross the main corridor to get there. So what that requires us to do is really to build the whole office anew out front. And so that's the direction we're taking here, where this whole addition is moving the office space out front. And what that does for us is it frees up this space in here that we now need to fill, and that becomes the STEM lab. So the STEM space goes into where the office was, and it actually works out really nice at this building because that's also adjacent to the media center, which is, again, that relationship we want to develop to help create kind of synergy between those spaces. All right, so I will kind of zoom in on some of these enlarged areas and give you some more detail. So starting at the classroom, it's a pretty straightforward addition, so we're just extending the corridor out and building one classroom off to the side of it. We are putting a toilet in there so it can serve as a kindergarten or DK room if it needs to. And then we are kind of master planning that there could be a future classroom that would go in here. So we're not building that at this time, but we are planning for it and accommodating it so that when it gets built, it'll fit right in and won't be too much trouble to work with what we've already built here. I'll point out, in both of these, you can see this set of double doors here, right at the addition. That's because at this building, we need to build some firewalls to separate off the new classroom and the new office area. It gets into some code requirements we've been working through with the design team, and there's rules around how big your building can get before it needs these specially fire-rated walls. And I think the group did a really great job of kind of working through that and understanding where it makes the most sense to do those and how to do it in a minimal way to affect the design and the layout and the learning environment. Okay. And then moving here to the new office addition. So, and here's where you'll enter. Here's that vestibule. So again, it's the same sequence that I explained at Carpenter, where you'll be allowed into the vestibule after getting buzzed in by the receptionist. You'll then have to walk into the reception area to check in, and then you will get buzzed out into the rest of the building if you have business there. Otherwise, you can drop off whatever you need to and then head back out. Again, this set of doors here is part of the firewall. The intent is that those would be open all the time, and you'd only ever really see those closed when the fire alarm goes off. A similar layout to Carpenter, so we have the reception and waiting up front. Immediately behind that is the principal's office. Again, the conference room for about 10 folks. That extra office or that kind of hoteling space back here. And then a staff toilet and some storage space around the outside. Then in the middle, we have the health room with a dedicated toilet, and then that same kind of workroom space that we saw at Carpenter that'll have the copy machine, the mailboxes, and a lot of office storage cabinetry in it to serve this front office area. And again, there's a back door out right here that you'll be able to badge in, badge out to keep this whole front area kind of secure. But still allow teachers access in there when they need to. I think one of the great parts about the way this laid out is if you're familiar with that building, you'll know that the front of the office is all glass right here, and we're intending to keep that. And so you're going to walk into that building and just see this STEM space that we're creating, and I think that'll be a really engaging place, to see work going on, to see learning going on, to see projects in progress. I think that's kind of a happy accident. I can't say that we planned it and were super intentional about that, but it'll be really nice, I think, too. And there's a lot of discussion in the STEM team about, will it be too messy or will it not look, presentable or something? And everyone's like, well, no, learning is messy. Like, we want to see the process. We want to see people digging into it and kids engaged in this stuff. And so I'm excited about that. I'm super interested to see, it built and how it turns out. I'll zoom into that a little more over here and talk a little more about that space. One thing I will point out is that Orion Oaks does get a bigger STEM room than what is planned at the others. And that, again, is a kind of a function of how much space was vacated by the office and how much space we need to fill to kind of complete that renovation. So it's not like twice as big, but it's substantially bigger than what the other two are getting. But again, a very similar layout and very similar functionality. So a large open space in the middle, very flexible furniture. You know, one of the goals of the team was kind of a 360 classroom, so there's no front of the room. So we're talking about having multiple displays, lots of places to hang up whiteboards, you know, a couple different places to go to sinks to do your work. Kind of a very open and student-friendly and student-activating space. This STEM room does have a small group room off of it. And again, there'll be a lot of glass along that wall so you can see in and supervise. But maybe that glass gets used for marker board or something. So again, you can kind of see the learning and thought process going on in there. We are making a connection between that STEM area and the media center. And so to make this, we are kind of reconfiguring a back end of the staff lounge that, you know, the staff said, oh no, it's our junk storage area, no one uses it, take it and make the connection. So that's what we're doing. So there'll be a set of doors that kind of connect those two. This is the existing media production room at this building, so we're just keeping that. It's in a good spot and it functions well for them. And then we're also adding in this small breakout space, again, similar to Carpenter, for you know, heads down or small group meetings. And here again, similar furniture goals as what we talked about at Carpenter, flexible seating areas, maybe some soft seating areas, new books, a story time area, and it's kind of making it a place kids want to be and a place, you know, kids want to learn in. One of the other pieces of work that I will talk about at this building is that we are replacing all of the unit vents in all the classrooms here. And that's not necessarily depicted on the plan, but really that's the mechanical piece of equipment that's shown in every class. You know, it's under the windows, and we're pulling those out and we're switching to a vertical model. So it's, you know, a little more energy efficient, and you'll be getting a little more consistent mechanical systems throughout your district. There's a couple buildings we'll be doing this at, so there'll be some kind of consistency improvements happening there.
You have the same rattle and clang?
No.
Or does that go away too?
You still put the paper towel on the thermostat?
We most certainly hope not. Yeah. Okay, so really that's most of the work here at Orion Oaks. Any questions on any of the pieces or how we arrived at any of the decisions or any thoughts?
Very nice.
Can you go to the site plan again?
Yeah.
Couple of things I want to mention, especially at this building, and if not all, then we've been, you know, administration's talked that we'd be intentional that it's not like this new architecture that's, hey, this is a cool thing, we're doing this addition that really is different, that these things look like they've always been there. So they match the building, and planning for even the additions that the next addition could come on in and it looks like it's always been there. Try to match what's already there. And the other thing, just from a campus perspective, we can't change this spot a whole lot, but it was intentional to make sure that the Early Childhood Center, when you came in, those entries both could see each other. And when you come in the campus, you see both of those. So it's pretty intentional that it's not like one's off the back side of the building, the other one is on, you know, in the front here and the back here. So that was important to have that connection visually between those two entries.
One thing you mentioned to us before, just so that everybody is aware, anybody's watching, the bell tower, that will be removed or eliminated, will it not? Yeah.
The tower will be eliminated. We're
Because
repositioning.
the old entryway has to be wiped out,
Right.
that vestibule, so, just in case anybody was wondering,
We're
but
trying to find a place
Heidi
for the bell.
mentioned that the bell will be rescued.
Rescued, saved.
It's going in
The
Jake's
bell will be
basement.
saved. No,
One
it will be
somewhere.
on display.
An Orion Oaks historical, the future generation, because every kid that's gone there's like, how do you ring the bell?
It's 20 years old. It's not historical yet. You got shoes older than that, Jake.
It's not wrong.
I'm sorry.
this means 20 years down the road, you know, when doing
Absolutely.
another renovation, they're like, man, we got to save the bell. They saved it the last time. No one knows where it's from, but it seems important, so.
It's like Back to the Future.
Oh, those but they did start the process with, is there anything that needs to be saved in any of these buildings? And I'm sure the bell came up at that building.
Yeah, there's not a lot of understanding where the bell, the emotion to it, but it's like, yeah, it's there, people like it, but I can say there's a high understanding of its history, frankly, from your people.
Yeah.
It was built in the mid-'90s.
But now that we go through the effort to save it, the next group, when something happens in 30 or 40 years, they better save it too.
Now, the Blanche Sims smokestack, that might be something we want to save. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Sorry, a little slap happy.